Welcome everyone to the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast, a show where we talk to Black people who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, changemakers, and entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. The Big Tech Talk podcast is where they show how they are stomping the divide by sharing their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the big community.
Welcome, everybody, to the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee. I am the founder of the Blacks in Technology organization. And today we are continuing our series with highlighting our chapter leaders. And today we have Vera Dureke on the show. So Vera is a professional based out of Chicago. She currently serves as our chapter president for the Blacks in Technology Chicago area. She's pursuing her bachelor's degree in data science and mathematics. And right now she's working as a contract analyst at CDW, where she excels in analyzing and managing contracts. So we're going to talk all about that. And we're going to talk about some of her fun hobbies that she has as well. So I want to welcome Vera to the show. Hey, Vera.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem. We're excited to have you on. So let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Kind of, where you're from, and that fun stuff.
Pretty much cool. So born and raised in Chicago. I live on the South Side in South Shore. Been born and raised here all my entire life, but I've traveled around. In regards to education, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I had gotten my associates from Eastern Gateway Community College, just in general studies. But as I wanted to transition into getting a degree in the tech space, it was originally going to be computer engineering. But as I've kind of discovered what interests me and how I want to align myself into tech, I realized that data science and mathematics is just a fantastic industry for me to just explore myself and be able to use numbers to be able to solve problems, which really is just a big thing of what I like to do is just solve problems. And I like talking about things in an analytical manner. So that's give or take the gist about me. I have, again, a wide variety of hobbies, from traveling. I go to a lot of conferences or just a lot of locations in general, trying different foods. I have a huge Funko Pop collection. I do Comic-Con sometimes, very lightly, not so much anymore. And then I have a really big vinyl collection that I've been working on. So yeah.
Okay, that's dope. Yeah, we're going to get into those hobbies a little bit later on. But let's talk about, so you went to community college for general studies. So what made you want to get into, what was your earliest involvement with technology?
I jokingly say I didn't find tech. I was necessarily forced in. So I'm the oldest child to Nigerian immigrants. So I've always been teaching my parents in regards to how to operate their computers, Excel, Windows, anything of that manner. So it just has been a natural thing for me. I would also say I was a troublemaker and ended up breaking a lot of things. So I loved how things are made. So I would just go back and tinker and mess around in regards to things. And from there, it's just fostered and has grown since then. In high school, I would volunteer at the Museum of Science and Industry and just learn about different science aspects. I loved physics or engineering in general. So it's always just been very affixated to me over the years. When it came to education, I needed to go into community college just because it was a lot easier for me to kind of break through. 4 years was just not something feasible for me at this time. So I originally was going to do information technology, but the degree at that time was more heavy into certifications itself. And that's not necessarily what I needed to transition over once I was done with my degree. So I had to bounce into general studies so I could look at different math classes, some other technical courses in regards to technical writing and everything else. For me to kind of get a gist of what I was wanting to explore. On the side from that, I was just dabbling in regards to statistics, a little bit of linear regression and everything to kind of understand what's going to look like for just me to be in data science. And once I graduated with my associates, I'm all right, cool. I'm just going to go ahead and finish this and be done with this. So I graduate next December and I'm super excited.
Nice. Congratulations. I love when I hear people talk about different routes to their pathway in tech, right? Especially the community college route. A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people because I don't know, but there are some people out there that feel I automatically have to go and get a computer science degree at a 4-year college, and it's there's all these different pathways now that you can follow to get into tech. Community college was actually my pathway as well. So I actually went to a community college and got an associate's degree and computer network engineering. So that I always like to, kind of bring that up because that's an option for people, especially with the costs of 4-year degrees as well. Like community college is always like a good option, especially if it's like, in state and you're living at state and there's always a lower cost for tuition and things like that. So excellent, excellent. I'm curious to what piqued your interest in math. Like I used to be like really heavy into math when I was younger. Not so much anymore, but I still have a love for like just math in general. It's like the universal language, so to speak.
So
So
for
I
me,
always like to hear like what drove you to math.
ooh, honestly, like I've always loved math. Like I was always the big nerd, like always just wanting to like do like math problems the fastest. But just as things kind of evolved to just like understanding physics and how like math just naturally shows its way into life, whether it's like the Fibonacci sequence or like how the natural spiral shows up in like sunflowers or anything like that. I've just always been really asphyxiated in regards to math. I ended up watching like a lot of videos in just in regards to either like different areas of science, whether it's like aspects of interactions of like astrophysics or anything else in general. So it just has always been a part of me. That I feel my friends jokingly say I was an overachiever because I wanted to do just data science in general. I'm like, but let me just learn math just to see where everything kind of intertwines, so I'm not sitting here lost. So that's kind of really like the major reason why I would double majored in regards to math, but data science specifically. I think with especially how everything is transformed and how data is so quintessential to everything that we do, it was just kind of a calling to me of just like, okay, let me actually engage in regards to this industry and what it looks like. And it's not, just straight up coding or doing like models and everything. Like there's a lot more that can be done in regards to it, from stakeholder management, like visual reporting and everything else like that. And ethics, which is eventually what I'll get into and what I really would like to become as an ethicist, because there needs to be more representation of us in the industry to be able to tell, computer scientists or other areas of like how to look at data, how are we properly like evaluating what data needs to be looked at, how like our data is being used in regards to either business decisions, whether by our choice or by our knowing, or even with like the huge cybersecurity attacks where people's just data has been taken over. Like there needs to be more conversations of like what that looks like, instead of it just being like, oh, it happens, let's reevaluate this from a cybersecurity standpoint and move forward. Especially because AI is just booming. Like I just went to Google I/O and I just came back not too long ago, and they're already talking about like different ways of how they're going to integrate like AI into like databases and spreadsheets and everything else. Like for Google just alone, that's fantastic and it's amazing to see, but like we need to also step back as a society to see like, okay, these innovations are great, but how is this actually going to impact us as we're going? Like, is it going to be job elimination? Is it going to be a culture shift in regards to like the arts and sciences or music and everything, which is already kind of attacked as it is right now? How are we going to be advancing forward in technology while keeping again integral parts of the culture and society moving forward as well? But yeah.
I got two things that come out of what you just said. Well, one thing that comes out of what you just said, and something else that I wanted to talk to you about in regards to mathematics, because I've been watching some videos, and I just want to get your opinion on it. But first, I want to ask you about, like, I've never heard of an ethicist. So I'm curious, what is an ethicist?
So ethics, the aspect of evaluating ethics is often just beyond just morals. It's just the implications of how things affect society, and it's usually on a more of
Okay.
a philosophical end, which is cool. But now in regards to data ethics, like that's more of it's still philosophical. It's marrying the two of like how again we evaluate and look at like things like data privacy. What is like when it comes to like the arts, like what is copyright and what is like intellectual property and things like that. Like there's kind of where ethics kind of go into, because once again, computer scientists can like make the code, make the pseudocode. They can make some amazing models and do all of that. But who is this data, or like who is this stuff like actually for? Is there an actual best fit in regards to like how this could potentially like affect civilizations or areas? Because it could be a best fit, but if it's not targeted to like Black and brown people and it doesn't apply, then is it really innovative? That's kind of like really big of where like ethics come into. I can't remember her name off the full extent of it, but it's Dr. Joy. She had made a book in regards of like unmasking AI, and I saw her at Grace Hopper. That was kind of like the start of where my interest in regards to ethics came in. I've wanted to always marry like tech and social good of some aspect just in my life, because I just again want to be able to provide that impact, and I find more happiness of trying to do it in a way that tangibly helps like society move forward. And so after that, I went to Harvard WeCode this year, and they had an actual data ethics panel where there was different people who were like graduate students, people who are working in industry, and showing like how they are interacting in regards to data privacy and everything like that. And that was really kind of like my spark of like, okay, this is what I want to kind of do as a career. So yeah.
That is very interesting. So a friend of mine, her name is Ayuri. She's been on podcasts before, and she's a close confidant as far as like an advisor to Bit and things like that. I'm pretty sure she mentioned Dr. Joy and sent me some videos on her and some of her talks, and so it's been uh, pretty interesting stuff. I do have a question about on the math side of it.
Mhm.
Um, so, what do you think about, and this is off script, this is not a question I posed to you or provided
Okay.
to you, but I'm just curious, like what have you heard or seen any videos by Terrence Howard recently,
I have not.
the actor? Okay.
No, I have not.
So Terrence Howard is the actor who played in Hustle and Flow. He also
Oh,
played
him.
in
Yes.
yeah, his videos in regards to his take on mathematics as far as we've been looking at math completely the wrong way. Like his whole take is like we've been looking at it from this kind of like Euclidean standpoint, I guess, perspective. And we've been saying for years that 1 times 1 equals 1 when that can't be true. And he's essentially created like this whole branch of mathematics. And I don't know if you've ever seen it before or delved deep into it,
So I
but
haven't seen that
I'm
particular.
just wondering. Okay,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off. I haven't seen that particular video before, but that's not the first time of me hearing of like people kind of questioning how like why math is fundamentally the way it is. Um, it's been a very weird
yeah,
minefield to kind of navigate because people ask the questions with not necessarily like looking back at proofs or like looking back at like, hey, why is it like, fundamental laws of mathematics operate this way so that it is, you can't multiply things by itself like 1 times 1 equaling 1 or anything like that. So I haven't heard anything
yeah,
of that manner, but this isn't the first time, and especially with how math has been taught differently over the years, it's going to be a very interesting way of like
mhm,
people to understand what math actually is. And especially when it comes to tech too, it's kind of going to be a little bit concerning per se where and it goes to AI as well, like there's so much of AI that like you're just doing like putting the work and numbers into it that you don't have to necessarily understand. So for people to sit here
mhm,
and kind of like question without knowing that fundamental aspect is just like a smidge concerning. But I'm hoping that even still, like people
yeah,
will go back into like education or like learning more of like math to understand fundamentally like why things are the way they are, so that it's not necessarily of a confusion. But that's a layered topic between like
right.
is the school system properly educating you of why math is the way it is? Do you necessarily understand it? Is it the method of how you need to learn it? Like so on and so forth.
Yeah, I asked you that. I mean, because you're studying to be a mathematician, so it's interesting to get your point of view. I'm not a mathematician. I didn't study to be a mathematician. However, I was studied to be an engineer. So I took physics, I took math, all that stuff. Now Terrence Howard, he what's the best way to put this? He seems very very knowledgeable in the areas of mathematics and physics. I don't think he's your run of the mill like I'm just an actor. Like it sounds like he's actually studied, and he seems very, very, very smart.
Mhm.
However, my whole thing about his take, and maybe I don't fully understand it, is how would anything right now function if we had math totally wrong? Like buildings, like everything relies on the principles of mathematics and physics in order for you to be able to build anything roads, buildings, bridges. Like you have to have the basic fundamentals of mathematics in order for it to work. Otherwise, it would completely not work, right? That's how from studying physics in college and math and things like that, that's how I see it. However, he's saying no. That's there. I guess what he's saying is, yeah, there are some fundamental laws of math, but I guess the overall general consensus, as he puts it, is that it's wrong. 1 times 1 does not equal 1; it equals 2. And I'm just like, what? I don't see how that
I would
makes
have
sense.
to
But
look.
anyhow,
I'd have to look at that video. If it's what I think it is, that he is not necessarily like he may be taking multiplication in a different manner than what it actually means, and that might be where like his confusion lies. We'll definitely
Yeah,
touch base in regards to that, and I'll definitely give you a better
yeah,
feedback and
yeah,
input.
yeah,
But for right
yeah,
now, I
yeah.
don't want to sit here
I
and
don't
like
want to
say
belabor that,
anything.
but
Right.
right. So I'm curious more about your journey in getting your bachelor's in data science and math. Like, what are some of you always kind of hear like different information about like being a mathematician and what it takes, and whether or not like how that correlates to you being in tech and things like that.
BIT is always focused on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist the community and our members with their continued professional growth and development. If you'd like to partner with us, send an email, inquiries@blacksandtechnology.net.
Like, what are some of the misconceptions, I guess, that have been proven wrong as you've, further your journey, your educational journey, and pursuing your degree in mathematics?
So when it comes to data science and mathematics, a lot of times it tends to be, I'll hyper focus more in regards to the data science end, that it has to be very like hyper specific of it being technical, that you kind of need to know like Python and R and everything, when there's so much more behind it. There's, the communication of like what the models mean, or if you're doing like data analysis, like what the reporting and everything means. Like those soft skills are actually very key and like quintessential in regards to understanding what data looks like as a whole. Like of course it's all crucial, like the mathematical aspects to understand what the data is crucial, but there's so much more in regards to be able to converse of what like these numbers mean things, because how would you be able to even interpret and understand what problems you're looking at to solve, or like what a business or person might need to understand of what the data is necessarily interpreting. The other thing I definitely see that's coming up is like a lot of like machine learning and AI tends to be like the big hot topics, especially even as I'm getting close to finishing. They're like, oh, you're going to go into machine learning, or you're going to be in AI. And I'm like, that is a small subset of it. There's so much more behind it. Like there's database management. If you're doing like wrangling in regards to data, you have that. There's big data. There's like quantum data. There's so many wide, broad topics of application of data science or just data in general that it's not necessarily just those areas. I think also too when it comes to data science, it's often viewed in a technical aspect, like you have to be in tech. But I'm seeing data science from anesthesiology. I'm seeing it in government. I'm seeing it in finance, healthcare, marketing. Like there's so many versatile ways to be able to use data again, because it's going from not even just in tech. It's like from aspects of students. If we're looking at like how government funding will go in regards to the amount of students being looked at. Like that's data, that's numbers that are being wrangled in to be able to explain, how certain schools get funding, or how,
Right.
places may shut down and everything like that. Those areas are, again, quintessential to where data is needed. I know another big thing, and again, that's why I'm going for a math major, is that a lot of people don't necessarily hyper focus in regards to math. Like anytime I talk with people, I'm like, oh, you have to be familiar with statistics. And they're like, I don't want to be good with math. But I'm like, you have to be good with math to understand it, just because quantitatively you can't get the data without knowing what it means. So I think that would be pretty much like give or take the big ones. I think the last thing would definitely be that it's, I guess, a trendy topic. Like I wouldn't say like cybersecurity is trendy, but like data science is trendy, AI and ML. It's trendy at the moment just because of how much is coming out in research and innovation for it, but it's definitely going to be
Right.
something long term to stay, and it should definitely be something to be considered as people are like moving forward and wanting to like pivot in a manner that like will be palatable for them for security's sake.
So what would you say to someone who is thinking about going into data science, mathematics? Like what are some things that you would tell people as far as like preparation? Like,
So
before you go into it, yeah, go ahead.
First and foremost, before I even hyper focus the data, I often ask them like where they want to be in regard to it. Are they more of like a social person, or if they wanting to be more on the technical end? Because again, that broadens and
Mhm.
stretches your skills of where you're wanting to go to. If you're wanting to be more on
Right.
the public facing end, where you're dealing and interacting with businesses, stakeholders, doing more of like reporting. Then you have like your data analytics, where you're doing, again, transforming numbers and data to be able to visualize and showcase numbers of like what they mean and how it could impact. Then if you go into like data science, where you're looking at models and everything to be able to do significant work, then like I would be like, okay, are you really wanting to be a little bit more technical? Or if you're even wanting to go on the farther end, you have like database management or data engineering, which is like a soft marry between software engineering and data science, or just data in general. So it really kind of just varies on where people are interested in regards to. If anyone's like, hey, I'm like really open to it, like where I start, I often like, okay, start with your math. Like even if people hate math or whatever, like you have to get a basics of general statistics. You need to know at least like quartile aspects, median mode and everything. While it may not be, stretch along the way in the data industry, those areas will be just very basic for you to just start and move somewhere. You will need to understand at least Python or anything else, or at least some visualization software. So you do need to get comfortable in regards to that. But I would say at least like knowing Python and starting with a math foundation will get you in a good spot to kind of see if, data is just going to be for you or where that can look like to you in the industry.
Excellent. That's very, very, very good advice. I always like to, kind of touch on like what people need to get started. It's always important because I get a lot of questions from people. They hit me up on LinkedIn or they'll email me and say, hey, like I'm interested in this. Like, how do I get started? And so it's always nice to kind of like have a knowledge base of like, oh yeah, you want to get started in data. These are the things that you might want to look at before you start your journey. So thanks for that.
Two things I would definitely will count on in regards to resources. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut off. One for sure, if people were like wanting to gauge, Data Camp is an amazing platform for just learning data in general. Whether again it's that stats, Python, R, if you're doing data analytics, data engineering, anywhere in between, like it gives you such a wide repertoire of places to learn at. And then I also know that BIT does have a business analytics nano degree. I know it's stopped for this cohort, but I know I dabbled lightly in regards to it. If people are just wanting to kind of get a light area of like where they could see themselves in regards to like business or marketing, that's a great place to also learn and get those fundamental skills to ramp up and hopefully go into the industry.
Very nice. Very good plug, by the way, too.
No problem.
So you're currently a contract analyst at CDW, and I'm interested to know, like, how are you using tech in your current position?
So for right now, we do a lot of like procurement stuff in regards to like Salesforce and Agiloft. But even for CDW, like they're also trying to integrate AI to be able to move things forward in regards to just the state of the business. To where it interacts of my department, that's not necessarily known of as yet. But like I do also help out in regards to more or less like data wrangling of like what contracts look like if things are correct, a lot of data validation on that end, whether it's like visual through like Excel or something else or through other aspects. But it's a little bit lighter than what I'm wanting to actually get into. Like I do a lot of other nonprofit work, as well as just like side projects where I'm using AWS or Tableau or Power BI to be able to still interpret data to showcase things. But for like my work right now, it's just very lighter end on that validation and correction or just data wrangling in general. But I'm hoping again to expand a bit more. I know I have a program that I'm going to be doing to learn more about machine learning and AI. So hopefully I'll be able to touch more in regards to different areas. Like I know I really want to learn Apache Spark. That's really one of the places I want to like learn and touch it. I don't know if I'm gonna do engineering, but I at least want to learn enough of what I can to get where I can need to go to.
Right. Let's touch on that a little bit. I find that interesting. So tell us a little bit about like kind of like what your process is for learning a new technology within the data analyst realm, and like what tools are you like do you use? I know you mentioned AWS and you just mentioned Apache Spark. Like tell us a little bit more about like kind of what your process is.
Ooh, my learning system is chaotic. I'm more of a tactile learner. Like I do take a lot of notes in regards to just understanding fundamental basis, but if I can't practice and do the work, it's not going to get to me, which is why I really do love Data Camp, where they can sit here and like go over videos and go over explanations of, general topics, but then they'll also help you practice in regards to it. Whether I'm using just like general like VS Code, for some of my classes, I'm using like PyCharm, which is kind of similar to VS Code to be able to practice and do work like that. I've done stuff in regards to AWS. I know there's other learning platforms as well that I've touched base in regards to outside of my classes. I think it's EDX is the one that's coming off of the top of my head. So yeah, I do my best to. I have like several notebooks. If I sit here and turn my camera, like you'll wonder what's going on. But I have several notebooks that just go over high fundamental stuff. But then I'll also take screenshots in regards to like what certain libraries mean or like certain aspects, because even in Python, you and I can do the same thing in two different ways and it's still all interpreted the same way. It's the beautiful thing about just how inadvertently math is quintessential to comprehend certain functions. But that's give or take like how I've gone from it. Now, when it comes to like a Spark and everything and like other places that I'm not familiar with, a lot of times I'll jump into like their help section just to kind of understand of like how I'm interacting or how I'm going to be using things. One of the things I know I'm going to be working on is a model. Hopefully that'll be connected to a database using Apache Spark to use a model to identify exoplanets. And so I'm still in the wings of figuring out how that all looks like. So don't hold me to any like particular aspects, but I'm going at least through the how-tos of how to just understand Spark. And then as I'm kind of delving in and going into the database in US, then I'm going to kind of like touch and feel and see how it goes from there. And if nothing breaks, then at least I know I'm doing a good job.
Nice. Yeah, I'm always curious as to what people's methods are, their learning methods. I noticed that you said you have a lot of notebooks, and I still use notebooks. I still write stuff down in notebooks and things like that. I don't know if I'm just old school like that, or if it's just like you said, kind of like the tactile aspect of it. But I tell you one thing that I do utilize. I don't really have one set way. So I'll use Evernote because Evernote, it allows me to search on things really well. Like after I take notes and I can, categorize it in notebooks and things like that. I do utilize that for taking notes. I do use my iPad and I have an app on there called Notability. So what's cool about Notability is that it allows you to use that like the Apple Pencil to write, and then you can like categorize things as well. But you can take screenshots. Well, not necessarily. You can use the camera to take pictures of like. And so if I'm watching something like a video on something, and they show a diagram, I'll take a picture with that, and then I can embed it in my note. I can resize it. I can crop it. I can write on top of it. Yeah. So it's like. So you can really start having, and then like, of course, it allows you to change the color of the font or the color of the pencil that you're writing with, and you can do like highlighting and a lot of things like that. So you can like have like not animated notes, but like notes that like are full of color that you can. It's really cool, and then you can, like I said, you can embed these images, you can crop them, you can do all types of stuff. You can right on top of them, and it really, really helps. So, like, especially like if you're a very visual person and you need to see like those images that might be graphs or diagrams or whatever, you can embed those right into your notes, and you can also back those up to I think like Google Drive. You can import stuff from Google Drive as well. So it allows for you to import things, and it's a really, really cool tool.
Okay, I definitely need to learn that. Like, I normally, again, I'm just a very, like, I just write things down. Like, when I tell you I have colored pens and everything, I'll switch over and do stuff. So if there's a way to do that in a digital aspect and still be able to connect it to, like, Google Drive or anything, I'm perfectly fine. I'm tired of buying all these notebooks. I just had to buy a new set of notebooks for my summer classes. So any way I can lessen my load, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, check out Notability there. I think you'll like it. What's up, everyone? We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. Do you or someone you know have a dope story that they want to share with our Bit audience? Blacks in Technology is seeking guests to be on our podcast. We're looking to highlight the journeys and experiences of Black women and men in the tech industry. So if you know of someone, send them our way. Shoot us an email to contact us at blacksintechnology.net or click on the link in the show notes and fill out our form. We're looking to hear from you. Excellent. Let's talk about your tenure as as the Bit Chicago chapter leader. I'm curious, first, how did you first hear about Bit? And then kind of what led you to become the chapter president of Chicago?
So I will jokingly sit here and say, I like to lurk in regards to different organizations. And so I've been a member of BIT, I want to say for about, from now, I think it's probably going to be maybe 4 or 5 years. So I've been a long time member. I've used resources and have seen emails in regards to events. But I had lost my job and I had kind of made it upon myself that I wanted to be more involved. And so I would reach out to the former Chicago president. I didn't hear anything about it. I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way of finding a way to be more involved. Took a very, very, bad financial risk to go to VidCon when it was at Disney. And my eyes were widened in regards to just the opportunity of what you guys offered. And I remember the networking lunch, I had approached Dennis and I was just introduced myself. I'm like, hey, my name's Vera. I'm from Chicago. I want to know who's the Chicago chapter president. There's too many people in Chicago and there's so many untapped potential that we could definitely do in regards to having a chapter there. And he had asked me do you want to be president? At the time I was like, I don't know if this is going to be it for me. It would have been my first leadership role. I was just at a certain space right now where I just did not know what to do. I kind of simmered and thought about it and I was like, you know what, forget it. The most I could do is just learn and see what this looks like. And obviously it's something that's calling me. So I might as well just fall into it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, or I adjust and see what that looks like. But that's inadvertently how I got into the role. I was a little bit drunk, but that has nothing to do with it. Liquid courage helps a long way, but really it was personal motivation that helped. A little bit of the alcohol later.
Yeah. Disney was a fun time. It was expensive.
It was. So really back from
but it was a fun time.
Amazing.
Go ahead. Yeah. It's funny. You said that was Dennis pushing those drinks to you while he was convincing you to be the
No,
president?
I was so nervous. At the time to when I started again pushing myself out and networking, I did not know what that looked like in regards to me for networking. So I was like, you know what, let me just take a couple drinks, go around and start meeting people, getting into conversations. And that was really what opened my eyes to just the joy of being in community with other people and seeing just so many Black tech professionals. That nervousness kind of went away. By the time I hit Dennis, though, I'm positive I had too many drinks at that time. But we were already there. So I wanted to get the question out as soon as possible. Yeah. If anyone wants to meet me now, I'm not that bad. I promise you. It's just I was a very nervous person at that time. But it was, again, as you said, VidCon was just an amazing experience. And I really, really hope even for this year that people are just able to take away from some of the amazing just panels and experiences that happen, or even just with light networking that people want to get into. You'll meet so many walks of life. It's going to be worth your while.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I'm happy that you came on board as chapter president. Your efforts are recognized and we are grateful for your efforts as well. And so I just want to say thank you for stepping up. And yeah, it's not as easy as some people may think. They may think that it's entitled only, but there is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to effectively run a chapter. So I thank you for all your work that you're doing up there.
Thank you.
Do you have a product or service that you would like to share with the BIT audience? Or maybe you'd like to support the BIT community and do your part in helping us with stomping the divide? Start by sponsoring one of our podcasts. Please email us at contactus@blacksintechnology.net.
So tell me about some of the initiatives, the chapter initiatives that you have going on this year. I do want to recognize that you are, I don't know the exact title. Are you the Midwest Regional Director? Is that?
Yes, I am. Thank you for remembering that. Yes, I am. So for the Chicago chapter, our big thing right now is honestly collaboration. I don't know for a lot of other chapters, but for Chicago, what tends to happen in the tech space is that there's so much untapped potential that happens, whether it's, talent or entrepreneurs or startups and everything, but we don't necessarily have the means of access to be able to get funding or work in the same way that I feel a lot of other areas, if it's LA, Atlanta, New York or anything else like that. Like we don't have, or Texas sometimes too, like we don't have that means of access. So a lot of times it's a very, very driven, but very hungry type of environment. So a lot of times what I'm trying to do is partner with a lot of organizations just to get exposure out. I think another issue that tends to happen, and maybe for a lot of other just Black and brown people, is that there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily told to us, and we have to necessarily like search and dig that out. And I really hate that entire aspect of having to do that, because it should be, again, as accessible as possible to everybody, no matter what area you're at, if you're in school, if you're not, if you're transitioning or whatever. So whether it's, like Black product managers or other smaller startups, or we've done stuff in regards to like the Data Institute over with the University of Chicago. Like we try to align ourselves as much as possible to give our members and just give people at large a variety of what they can see from the organization. I know I want to transform it a little bit more to be able to touch more on like students doing like either a hackathon or doing more in regards to like startups and entrepreneurs, whether it's like more of pitch competitions or anything else like that. But that's still a work in progress, just to get a feel of what our members need and what it looks like. But as much exposure and as much opportunities for people to be able to see and latch on, even if it's just like social events too, I try to provide as much as collaboration as possible. And then as we're going to kind of building things out and structuring things, then we'll kind of have more tactile ways of attaching to our members. But yeah.
Nice. I always feel that, I mean, that is part of the foundation that was founded on is being collaborative, amongst the community, right? Like we're so often on an island by ourselves, like within our job and within this industry as a whole, that we don't find ourselves collaborating all the time like we should, and then usually it's because like we're the only ones, and sometimes we're just trying to make it, we're just trying to survive. And so, when BIT was founded, it was along the lines. It was a community at first. It wasn't the org that you see right now. It was just an online community where I was like, hey, let's just get together, let's collaborate, let's share, let's support one another, let's build it as a community first, and then we go from there. And if it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, what have you. But I wanted it to have that community, that collaborative feel. But I also think it's important from the standpoint of Black organizations collaborating a lot more. I would love to see that happen a lot more often, and I'm glad that we're actually doing that as an organization. And we just partner with Render ATL, and there are a couple of other organizations that we've partnered with as well. And I think it's important, especially now. There's an attack. I might as well just call it what it is. There's an attack on
Absolutely.
efforts like ours, right? DEI efforts. Although I always say like I don't see BIT as being like a direct DEI organization. We're an organization. Indirectly, we are DEI. Like directly, we're really just trying to build ourselves up and progress Black people in this technology space. We're not really here to, what I like to say, we're not here to solve your DEI problems. Like you have to solve that. Like it's because of you all, so you need to solve it. We will help you out and what you need when it comes to that, but we're not here to solve it. And I guess that's what I mean when I say we're not a DEI organization. But there is an attack that's going on right now all across the country, and where they're shutting down, DEI departments. They're totally defunding DEI initiatives. So in that aspect, I think it's really important that our orgs stick together, even more so than ever before, because we need to be, more collaborative. We need to join together to have a stronger presence, and to make the impact that we really want to make. So
absolutely, I agree, and especially for accessibility, it's essential.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
The BIT Foundation has established featured partnerships and programs with companies such as Amazon, AT&T, CompTIA, Techstars, and more to provide our members with the resources we want and need to thrive and succeed in this tech ecosystem. To learn more, visit foundation.blacksintechnology.net. Join now, and remember, membership is free.
So speaking of that, I would love to hear like maybe one success story from Chicago. Like, what's do you have any success stories like of Chicago chapter people
I
like
would.
maybe getting a
Ooh.
job or?
I know I need to touch base in regards to one of our Southside Innovates sessions that we had. There was a moment in regards to um, people like understanding what the entrepreneur space looked like in Chicago and what that could attach to. I remember correctly, there were a couple people who were kind of working towards starting up an idea while I was there. I have to double check to see if that still had kind of fostered through. It's been a while from that event. Outside of that, I know there was someone else who did get a job in regards to customer success from, if I want to say it's Asana, and it was from either like a resume session or anything else. I have to, again, still double check. I'm so used to just doing events and just getting out there that I need to also double, from a data perspective, come back and see like what tangible works that we're doing that could actually make sense. Like, hey, Bit's actually doing, this amount percentage of a success in regards to getting jobs and stuff like that. But for right now, I'm just in such an exposure phase that I haven't even like properly looked at that. But I'll look back and double back for you for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything like that. I was just wondering if there was anything off the top of your head that you could talk about. I think it's important to know, for people to know, anyone watching, that there are opportunities for success in joining one of our local chapters, right? Like, the networking opportunities that are there, as well as like just opportunities of learning and taking those learnings and applying it to your business or your idea or even your career. So I think that's important. What's the future of the chapter look like? Like, what do you all have in the works?
We do have a number of events that are in the working. We have Chicago Tech Week that's coming up the week of July 25th, which is kind of like Black Tech Week or like New York or LA Tech Week, where it's just a huge showcase of like what tech's looking like in the Chicagoland area. I know we're going to do something from either like a light picnic of the social, just for people to kind of engage themselves and just have fun, just because there's going to be a lot of technical talks. But I know we're also planning in regards of doing a panel as well, just so that with one of our partners, so that again members can kind of see what it looks like to engage themselves with a tech organization and what that could be. I know we're also going to be partnering and doing events for the National Democratic Convention, because it will also be in Chicago. So we're kind of wanting to see what civic tech will also be online and look like, whether it's people wanting to start up their businesses and see what government contracting looks like, or again just what civic tech might look like, or just that social good. There's a variety of options that can look in regards to that. The last thing I know that we have, which is going to be our big round out, is there is a partner organization that we work with. They have a Black Computer Science Summit. It was hosted at the Chicago Google office, and it was a fantastic time when I attended. I attended more of a volunteer and just to help facilitate and help. But we're planning on finding ways to make things more tangible, to where we can attach and like either bring kids in or bring more exposure in regard to it. Whether it's our chapter sponsors coming in as well to kind of like talk with students and see what it looks like for like internships or jobs or anything like that. Just so that it's again driving that impact, so that inadvertently, hopefully, someone could get an internship, someone could get a job, or someone could be able to at least know something in regards to what's available in the Chicago area. If I can at least do that, my job as president is done.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like some cool events. So if anyone's watching is in the Chicago area, definitely check out the blacksandtechnology.org site and look into. If you want to reach out, there's a link on there for chapters, and then of course that will take you to. It goes to the LinkedIn page, right? The Chicago LinkedIn.
Yes, it does
page.
go to LinkedIn. It also does have the chapter email as well. So if anyone wants to, collaborate, any ideas, we're very open in regards to being, again, as accessible and as immediate as possible. So if it's anything from just like a light meetup, or if it's just a social thing in between, if you want to run and do a virtual panel, let us know. We will see what we can do and how to make that work.
Excellent. And speaking of that, like, how can someone, like, what are some needs that you have right now as far as like maybe some volunteer positions? Like, I mean, let's put it out there. If there's an opportunity for some people that possibly help out, let's definitely speak to that.
There. If I sit here and say the laundry list, we will be here past time. I will be here all night. As you had said already, like the role is such. I will. But the role is such an daunting role. Whether it is event coordination, and we definitely need help in regards to that. Communications. I've right now handled, posting for our LinkedIn or our newsletters. I think I do okay, but I'm not like visually. I wouldn't say I'm the best in design sake. So like, if anyone's super talented and wants to take their talents in regards to that, that would also be super helpful. I know we're also trying to do more in regards to like entrepreneurial spaces too, because I may not know too much in regards to how to support an entrepreneur, but if someone who's more integrated into that network and has more like capabilities or even further connections, like that be a couple places of where we can help out, or just again light volunteering. If people want to just come in and help out for an event, by all means, that'd be great. Take the load off my shoulders, please.
Nice. I want to get into a little bit about like the non-technical things that you're involved in. I always feel like it's important for our audience to see you as a leader in the tech space, and also a leader within Bit, to see the other kind of, quote unquote, the other side, right? Like what are some of the things that you like to do that are not tech related?
And we'll be here all day. I have a lot of hobbies. So I have my 3D printing. I have a number of 3D printers. I love making small figurines or functional things in my house. I've been a huge fan of 3D printers, honestly, since I was a kid. Like, I've loved maker spaces and everything. When 3D printers were like $25,000, I told my mom I wanted one, and she's like, "You're out of your mind." But it's okay now because I could try to afford it myself. So I have that. Again, I have my vinyl collection. I love just I would not say I'm an audiophile, but I just love the sound that comes out from vinyls. That's just been something that's been embedded for me as a kid. And it's just carried on. I jokingly say I'm an old soul for it, but like I'll go in and look at some old records and pick out whatever. I'm at, I think 100 now. My goal is right for now, like 200, but I got to reorganize what my collection's looking like. It's a lot more contemporary than old school, which is more or less where I was wanting to lean into. I have a plant collection. I've always been a fan of plants. I just love how plants look and how they just, so it's like a math thing, but it's also just the uniqueness of like genealogy of plants. But I just love how plants are, how they interact and everything. May have killed a couple within my time of having them, yes, but I've still been able to hold on to a good 20. So I'm very happy that I'm able to contain that. Traveling, I've already mentioned. I love traveling places. Like, as much as I love Chicago, I get really bored, or I'll sit here and like, okay, let me see other places and just enjoy myself. And it's just very amazing to see how different cities are just structured, or sometimes it's even just the architecture. I just love seeing those little intricacies of what makes cities unique. And then when I get my fill, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to come back home. And then I think my biggest one right now, or two biggest ones would definitely be, I've been in a really huge, like, food craze. Like, I really want to just try different cuisines. Chicago has a really great food mecca, but again, with me traveling so much, I'm trying just different places from other areas. I know I had a really great it was a fusion mix when I was in California. I can't even remember the name of it so much just because it's been a blur from when I flew back in. But it's been that, or I've been trying like Cambodian food or anything else in between. It's been a very interesting time. And then on top of also that, I do game. You can't likely see it's in the back, but I have like a wide variety of games from like the PS5 all the way down to, I'm trying to get a GameCube. I have a PSP right now, but I'm trying to go a little bit more retroactively. But same thing in regards to just like storytelling, art, and everything. Like, I love video games and just what the creative process can bring in tech for video games, whether it's like mocap or anything else. I could not be in the industry. I respect everyone that does what they can. I've tried video game design. It's not for me. It's not my wheelhouse, but I love just even, again, the analytical aspect of understanding like why they made certain features work in games, or why certain characters like go through their journeys and evolutions. So it's very, very beautiful to me, but I have a really big video game collection.
Nice. Very nice. There are a few videos out there. I know there was one on Netflix. Man, what was the name of that? I can't think of it. It was about, I think it was called Indie Game or something like that. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a really good.
I'm familiar with that title. I haven't watched it yet though.
Yeah, it essentially goes through the story of a couple of guys who are trying to make an independent like video game, and they're hardcore, like, programmers and things like that, and their video game ends up being like really, really, really popular. I'm always interested in seeing like how things come to to fruition in technology. So I like seeing watching videos of origin stories about this is
Mhm.
how an IBM supercomputer was created, or this is so that's
Mhm.
a really interesting one. Um, what is another one that I like? Another interesting one is it's more about like the I can't think of the name of the gaming consoles they call them. It's the big arcade games from like back in the 80s.
Okay.
What do they call it? Man, I can't think
I
of the
think
name.
it.
There's an actual name.
Okay. I'm
The
trying to see
stand up
and think
one.
the name too, and it's escaping me as well. It's probably going to come to me, and I'm going to remind you and be like, "Hey,
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
probably
yeah.
talking about this."
But there's a there's a video you can probably find on YouTube called King of Kong. I think that's the name of it. And it's essentially about uh, is it King of Kong? Yeah, it's about Donkey Kong, the video game Donkey Kong. I don't know if you've ever
Okay,
played Donkey Kong, the video game, but
I
like
have.
there was this huge movement of gamers that played Donkey Kong to see like who's the best Donkey Kong player in the world. And like there was, it's almost like a villain, like kind of like a protagonist antagonist type of uh, video, because there's this guy
Mhm.
that's like always dressed in black, and he goes and he's like one of the top Donkey Kong players in the world. And there's this other guy, he's kind of like I would say he's the protagonist, and he's like trying to reach this high score. And it's really really interesting, like how deep it gets. And what else? What's another like video game? Oh, the one about the ET video game. I don't. It's an Atari game, like an old Atari 2600, and um, they talk about how that video game came to be and how terrible of a video game it was, and it was so bad that they essentially took all the ET video games that they had in inventory and like put it like in this they dug a hole and like dumped all the
Oh
cartridges in this
no!
hole and then buried it. Yeah, it's really interesting to kind of hear the story about all that. Yeah. So if you're
I
interested,
gotta look at
go check
those.
go check those out. I think it's
I
King of
definitely
Kong.
will.
I don't know what the ET one is called. I think the other one is called like Indie Game or something like that. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. Um, how did you get into collecting vinyl?
Again, systematic. That's not necessarily I found it. It found me. My dad, growing up, he had a huge vinyl collection, 33s, 45s. He would play Soul Train and
Nice.
everything on Saturday mornings. I just grew up loving just the sound of a record hitting. Sometimes if we would run around too fast, we would jostle up the tone arm, and he would yell at us and everything. I had just grown to love the sound of how vinyls were just pressed and everything, or just how sorry, excuse me, how vinyls play through the needle and everything. I would also just
Yeah.
then, as music had evolved, like do MP3s, download through LimeWire. I'm probably telling on myself the things I've done, but the sound just never was the same, and I still like engage in regards to like Spotify and listening to stuff through Spotify, but I just always want to retroactively go
Yeah.
back. So I want to do vinyls. I'm trying to get
Mm.
cassette tapes, and I'm even trying to go back to CDs. It's actually a really great time for CDs now. I don't know if there's a weird. I have to find the article. There's a recession link to if we are, I guess, at a point of recession. There's often a times of like a nostalgia comeback, whether it's like roller skating or just like a particular like sound in music. I have to find the article, but when times are
Mm.
hard, people just retroactively go back because it brings a sense of euphoria. I'm not sitting here saying that that's my
Yeah.
reason. It's just something that it's attached to me and asphyxiated to me. Where even just growing up, I'm like, I have to have a turntable. I have to have vinyls. I'll play sometimes just my random Saturdays as just a callback to those times and just play the same
Mm.
albums over and over again. And it's so cathartic to me. I love it so much.
That's pretty cool. I actually have like bags and bags of cassette tapes like in my basement. And
Really?
so I looked on Amazon. Yeah, I looked on Amazon because I'm huge into like hip hop, like 80s,
Mhm.
90s, 2000s hip hop. Like
Mhm.
I love that era. So I have like all types of like you know cassette tapes with that music, hip hop music on it. Um, and so I was looking on Amazon, and there, because I was looking up like I need a cassette player. I don't have one anymore. Like the last one broke years ago. And so I was trying to look up, like, do they still make boom boxes? And they do. But they actually have like these cassette players that will convert your audio directly to like MP3s. So I'm like, I think I'm going to purchase one of those off of Amazon. I'm going to methodically and very slowly go through each one of my tapes, and it's hundreds. I know there's hundreds of them, and put everything in digital format. Yeah, so I can have it because I love that sound. I want to hear like what's on some of the tapes that don't have like covers to them. Like I have a ton of those, like stuff that I might have taped off the radio or what have you. Like that's what I used to do back in the day. Like just record from off the radio. Me and my brother, we actually used to like, and this is when like BET first came out and they were playing like videos and things like that. We would actually put the cassette recorder up to the TV and press record and record songs from off of it as well. So there's probably tapes like that in there. So I just, you're right. Like it does bring, it is nostalgic, and it brings back that kind of like euphoric, feeling from your youth. And so I kind of want to relive some of that. So I'm going to go ahead and purchase that off of Amazon.
See, my friends have been telling me to do that as well and go into a digital format. I don't want to sit here and say like I'm old in that sense that I don't want to do it. Like I can keep it separate. Like I'll engage in some songs that I want to, but there's, again, if it's recorded at a particular time, like you just hear it differently. Like I don't want to sit here and have to like have it in a digital format and it doesn't sound the same. So I'm okay with like, even though it's going to look like, possibly hoarding, I'll have my set of, cassette tapes, CDs and everything from those times, just because I know of how it was recorded or whatever. Or sometimes even just hearing the stories behind the recordings is just something so quintessential that digital doesn't necessarily touch in the same way. Maybe I'll get over it after a while where I'm like, okay, I have a lot of stuff and I need to compress this all. But for now, I can live.
So let me clarify. I'm not getting rid of the tapes at all.
Cool.
I just want to be able to archive it in case. I mean, because tapes are tapes, like they break, and like I don't, if that ever happens, like I want to at least have a copy somewhere. So I'm keeping the tapes for sure, but I'm gonna digitize all of them just so I can have them in archive. So
okay, that makes sense.
So what's next for you? What are your plans for the future?
Other than graduating, I do want to go into grad school. I'm probably going to get my master's in data science. I don't know about PhD. I've had a very weird resurgence of people coming up to me thinking that I should pursue a doctorate. And I'm like, I don't know if it's my face. I don't know if it's my demeanor. But right now, I'm tired of school right now. I just want to take a break. So once I graduate December, I'm going to take a small little break, travel a little bit, enjoy myself, then go and pursue my master's in data science and see what it kind of looks like for me. Outside of that, I know I'm going to a number of conferences. I'll be at Render ATL for sure. I'll be at BitCon, maybe Afrotech. I'm still trying to figure out in regards to it. What else do I have upon me? I have so much going on. I have an internship myself in June. I'll be in Dallas working for Bank of America doing database management, which I'm super excited to do. Outside of that, I'm just coasting.
Nice. Congratulations, by the way, on that.
Thank you.
So, how can folks reach out to you if they want to reach out?
LinkedIn will definitely be the best. Vera Dureke. There's no other way to find me. Hopefully, there's no one else with the same name on LinkedIn. They can also find me through the Bit Chicago email, where it's chicago@blacksandtechnology.com. Those are pretty much my main two places that I'm on. .org, excuse me. I want to say .net and I get confused every time. .org. Thank you. Those are pretty much my main places that I tend to be found at. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Honestly, other than that, catching me at a conference will probably be the only other time you'll see me, and I'll probably still be ripping and running from there.
Nice. Well, Vera, I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. Really, really glad we got to hear your story. And hear some of the wonderful things that you all are doing with the Bit Chicago chapter. And I definitely look forward to catching up with you at BitCon this year. And good luck with everything. Congratulations on your upcoming graduation. And let's definitely keep in touch and let us know how you're doing.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. And again, this is just an honor just to have the ability to be a leader. I'm one of the younger leaders, I can probably say. So that has been just so transformative to me to have the space to understand what leadership looks like to me and how I can be able to provide, again, give back to my community. So thank you for allowing me to be in your organization.
Oh, thank you. I'll say this, like, the honor is all ours. Like, none of this is possible without servant leadership, without people being selfless and really wanting to make an impact. So I appreciate you saying that, but I always tell people it's not about me. It's all about our leaders. It's all about our community and what they're doing to make an impact. So I want to say thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
You too.